On today's show, we get news from the 2014 Bassmaster Classic down on Lake Guntersville, as well as an update from the Alabama Bass Trail as they tackle the Kennesaw Delta just outside of Mobile. We also follow the FLW Tour on Lake Hartwell, and we check in with Tom's Marine Team Trail on Cherokee Lake in East Tennessee. Plus, Sportsman's Warehouse product spotlights. Kevin Van Dam even gets us a tip on crankbaits. It's all just one cast away. Stay with us.
The Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show. I'm John Byrne, and we thank you for watching. Cherokee Lake in East Tennessee is one of the most picturesque lakes in the country with over 400 miles of shoreline. It's a great place for recreation, and yes, of course, the bass fishing is excellent. This is one of the home lakes for the Tom's Marine Team Trail, and Richard McMaster, tournament director, does a great job of running the trail, along with assistant director Stan Strickland. We're on the water on Cherokee Lake right now.
We're on Cherokee Lake here in Marshtown, Tennessee. First tournament of the Tom's Marine Team Trail season. It's about 60 degrees, water temperature is about 50 degrees, so it's early spring. You can see by the lake level, the lake's still down quite a bit, so everybody's gonna be fishing red mud and rock today. Probably jerk baits, Alabama rig. We'll just see what everybody's fishing today once we get out there. Cranking all day long?
Yep.
Well, shallow, I'm assuming shallow.
Yeah, mostly shallow.
Most shallow? What's your best fish? You got any?
Probably 4-pounder.
You got a 4?
Yeah, we just all solid fish. What we got? Got 3 brown fish.
3 brown ones. They got to be 18 on this lake, don't they?
Yep, 18.
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
about 18 and a half.
Can't argue with that.
Yep.
Now, did you catch the smallmouth shallow also?
Yeah, they're shallow too. Same thing, just cranking.
Huh?
Getting ounces right now.
Getting ounces, huh? Getting ounces. Well, right. Looks like a smallmouth. Hey! Right on cue! Last weekend, I think over here it took about 16 pounds in the bait for first place. So 16 to 18 pounds today ought to be up there. We might see a 20-pound sack come from the river, but water temperature generally warms up faster the further up the lake you go. That's obvious in the springtime. But however, down the lake, we got a pretty good smallmouth population. And with water temperatures what they are and them getting ready to go into beds, somebody could bring in 16, 18 pounds of smallmouth.
Well, Stan's call was about dead on, as witnessed once again we got back to the dock and the weigh-in began.
Good bag, I think it's a new leader. 14 pound even, 14.00. Good bag, 13.98, 13.98, 14.69. It's got 5 fish.
That'll be a 16-pound bag, right?
5 fish. Real good bag. 17.94. You got any lunkers, Dwight?
We had a pretty good day. It was started off pretty good, and then later on in the day it got real tough. We pulled in on the bank and caught 3 and 4 casts. So, and culled twice. So that was a pretty good day.
Well, started off kind of slow. Pretty much just fished wind blown banks today with the Alabama rig. Seems like most people were beating shallow banks. I think that's kind of what did it for us. We just kind of went back to the same banks and they kept producing for us.
Had a great turnout, 136 boats showed up today. Lake's low, TVA's kind of got our waters down. As you can see in the background, we still got a beautiful lake. Water is at winter pool. Normally we should be 5 to 10 foot higher than what we are right now. Fishing's been tough, but it has turned on. Had a good bag of fish weighed in. Luke Bowles and Donnie Apsher weighed in, 21.18 pound. Had several big largemouth weighed in, 685 largemouth, a 680 largemouth, some 6-pounders. Had a tremendous amount of smallmouth weighed in. They hadn't been biting here lately. They finally turned on a little bit, had several over 5 pound.
Thanks, Richard, for that great update. What a great team trail you all have up there in East Tennessee. Coming up, we've got the FLW Tour on Lake Hartwell, as well as Kevin Van Dam giving us some crankbait tips on Kentucky Lake. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This portion of the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show is presented by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. See for yourself by going to rangerboats.com, and by your local Sportsman's Warehouse, featuring quality Rapala baits, lures, apparel, and more.
Bluebird skies, sunshine, and nice temperatures is what the FLW Tour met with on Lake Hartwell for their second tournament of the year. But that's not how the tournament began. Cold, wind, rain, and fog is what the anglers had to cope with before the final day. It was definitely the Casey Ashley show this time, as he dominated the field each and every day. Taking advantage of the changing weather conditions, Ashley figured the bass were in transition, and he figured right. Fishing slow over deep structure and brush piles brought him a mixed bag of spotted bass and largemouths each and every day.
I'm catching staging fish. You know, the fish I'm catching, they're coming. You know, when I catch them, they're replenished the next day. And, you know, I found so many fish in practice here this week. I knew that those deep fish were going to be the ones that would pay off, especially with all this weather and all the boats. I've never fished here with this many boats. Man, they was, especially if you're going to shallow water fish, man, they were boats everywhere, and you just can't. You can't compete like that. You can do well, but you can't win just fishing behind somebody all the time. I can anyway.
Ranger and Evinrude pro Brett Hite won the FLW on Okeechobee a few weeks back, and that momentum continued as he made a strong showing again on Lake Hartwell.
Casey Ashley, who is our leader, he's the king of the hill, sits on top with 52 pounds and 11 ounces, separated himself yesterday with his third big stringer in a row, which means that Brett Hite, you're gonna need, he's got 4 good ones in there so far. You're gonna need a big stringer, so number 5 needs to be a kicker, Brett. 5 bass limit on the way. Number 5, a solid 5 bass limit for Brett Hite of Phoenix, Arizona.
But that showing was only strong enough to carry him to 6th place. Andy Morgan had a great day as well.
You need 11 pounds and 3 ounces to dethrone Casey Ashley. A 5 bass limit, new leader, 12 pounds and 4 ounces. That's got you in first place.
But it was the hometown boy from Donald, South Carolina that dominated Lake Hartwell.
4 in there so far, healthy, kicking around. A 5 bass limit on the way for Casey Ashley. Number 5. Getting it done on this final day, man. You need 1 pound and 2 ounces to dethrone the #1 angler in the world, Andy Morgan. You have a 5 bass limit. Here we go, 5 today for Casey Ashley, worth 15 pounds, 2 ounces. The champion is Casey Ashley. Wow!
His first FLW Tour victory in his hometown.
Not a bad couple of days' work for Casey Ashley, taking home a check for $100,000. And keep your eye on Brett Hite, current Angler of the Year. Great competition out there. 7-time Bass Angler of the Year Kevin Van Dam takes us out on massive Kentucky Lake with some great crankbait tips.
Hi, I'm Kevin Van Dam, and I love to throw big crankbaits. If you want to be the most efficient with it, you got to get that lure to its maximum depth. The key to that is making a really long cast. First and foremost, you got to use the right equipment. I've got a 7-foot, 10-inch crankbait rod that I've designed. It's a composite rod that's half glass, half graphite. And what I love about that is the way that this rod unloads. It helps me physically throw the bait a lot further with a lot less effort. So, you know, I've got a big reel with a wide spool, and the mechanics of the cast are very simple. It's very much like a golf swing. You don't have to swing hard to make it go a long ways, but you got to have a big follow through. So I'll just kind of wind up, and you try to get the wind at your back just like this. I want to throw across the wind or downwind if possible on any spot that I set up on. It just makes that bait balance out real well. You know, this is a Strike King 6XD, and it's designed to cast real well. It's balanced out real well. So I'm going to leave a little line hanging. I'm going to make a full long swing with a full extension, just like you'd swing a baseball bat or a golf club. You got to follow through to get a really long cast. When I make a really long cast like that, that bait's gonna get down to the bottom a lot quicker, and it's gonna stay there in that zone for a lot longer period of time. And that's the key to deep cranking, is you gotta get that bait down there where the fish are at and keep it hitting the bottom for as long as possible. Keep it in that strike zone.
Coming up next is this week's Sportsman's Warehouse Product Spotlight with our own Vance McCullough. But first, we got to take a look at the Ranger Boats Question of the Week. What are the components of Ranger's exclusive zone-tempered fiberglass layup process? Find the answer by logging on to mydreamrig.com.
Today's show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Just ask Flo. She knows how to save on boat insurance. Sponsored by Evinrude, proven power, proven reliability. By Buckeye Lures, specializing in custom-made baits. And by Stratos Boats. Inspiration runs deep.
Vance and James Niggemeyer talk about the sexy dog.
Hey folks, Vance here with Bassmaster Elite Series Pro James Niggemeyer, Strike King Pro James Niggemeyer. Talk to me a little bit about the topwater plug you got there.
This is a Strike King sexy dog. And you know, everybody throws a walking bait. Guys have thrown walking baits for a long, long time. And what I mean by that, a bait that walks the dog, you know, back and forth. And Strike King's, for the first time, really introduced a bait in that category. And the sexy dog, and they have a sexy dog junior, which is a 2-hook smaller version. But this bait is just incredible. And the way that they've designed it is that it makes it really easy for the beginner, the guy that doesn't know how to get that cadence down, that walk the dog, you know, the twitch in the rod and reeling, turning the handle, so that anybody that can really put some time in and practice can really get the hang of really making that bait walk and surface walk across the water. It's got a great rattle in it. It's got 3 sets of trebles, which are going to increase the, you know, the odds of hooking and landing those bigger fish. I love that big knocker in the back of this bait here. It's got a big knocker bearing is what I should call it. But it actually will, as it's walking, it'll knock, 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 knock. And it's got little rattles in it as well. So it's got a kind of a mixture of different frequencies there, and it's going to draw and attract fish to them from a long distance. Got a bunch of different colors. You know, and this year, first time I really got to use it with a lot of consistency, and I was able to film a Strike King Pro Team journal on my home lake in Lake Fork and caught one. I had lost one about 5 pounds, and then they came up schooling, and I threw out there, and believe it or not, in that area where they're schooling, I caught an 8 on it. So, wow. I mean, it's a big bass producer, and super excited about this bait moving forward. But even here, as we're in the fall, this is the bait to throw.
That big 1 knocker bearing back there, do you think that kind of plays to the lateral line and draws bigger fish necessarily, like your experience?
Well, absolutely, but you know, it does 2 things. It weights the bait, so you can throw it just far. That's the thing about a walking topwater, any kind of topwater. You want to be able to throw it really far. If they come up schooling out there, 200 yards out, whatever, you can just make that cast and get to those fish. So it's important to get that, you know, that distance out of it, but also, like you said, it's kind of a calling effect. It's knocking as it's walking, and it's got the rattles to it, and really it's kind of like a buzzbait with a clacker blade, or any kind of, or even like a lipless crankbait with all the bearings in it. Yeah. And so it definitely draws fish to them, definitely, and even some of the dirtier water situations.
Well, folks, if you want to draw some fish to you, go get you one of these bad boys, the Sexy Dog, and a lot of other Strike King products at your local Sportsman's Warehouse.
Thanks, guys. As you may or may not know, we're covering one of the largest new team trails in the country this year, the Alabama Bass Trail. And we headed down to the Kennesaw Delta for their 2nd event of the year just outside of Mobile. Brand new Live Oak Landing was the launch point for the Alabama Bass Trail's Southern Division season kickoff down in Mobile. Baldwin County has done a superb job of creating a beautiful as well as functional landing facility for all anglers to enjoy. Anglers from Mississippi, Florida, as well as anglers from all across Alabama took to the water in hopes of winning the $10,000 guaranteed first place payout. Ernest Rachel, a local angler that knows the area well, is our guide this afternoon.
We're in Lake Mifflin, Guys, it's muddy here today. Last weekend we had a tournament here that 16-18 was won out of this lake. And the river's rising again. It's broken through and it's muddied this lake up. It was clearing up and falling, but it has muddied it back up. The conditions are very tough. It's going to take probably 14, 15 pounds probably to win today. The current, the mud, yeah, it's going to be tough for these boys today. That water's changed a whole bunch since last Saturday.
Yes, sir. It sure is.
We probably a foot and a half of bank showing last Saturday. And the winning stringer come out of here, out of Mifflin.
We didn't do no good in here yesterday, but
they several of them out there pitching jigs and plastic, and one with crankbait up here earlier. I talked to the boys that won the tournament last weekend, and they were leaving. We pulled in, they was leaving. They had not done anything yet. So you know that's got to be a kick in the guts for go from 16, 18 to not doing anything today.
Yeah.
This Smith Creek got some pretty fishing in it and stuff.
Came in here some yesterday and caught a few back around the next two bends.
Yeah. The guys, they throwing red rattle trap in here last weekend on my tournament, and so I know two of the guys got checks out of here and stuff. So y'all just stick with it.
Oh yeah. Our fish came later in the day yesterday in here anyway.
Yeah. Water does better in here on the incoming tide. You catch fish in here better with the water coming in.
Right.
And so the tide's turned, so hopefully it'll pick up now. So.
How many boats you videoed today with a German short hair? She points fish.
Well, our area is here in Mobile has tide water. It comes in and out from the bay. It's very tough to fish because you got anywhere for either high tides, low tides, or you have nip tides. Nip tides is it can be either one or two highs or one or two lows changing during the 24-hour period. We also have to watch the river stages on our rivers, especially this time of the year during the high water. We have to watch it. Because right now we have high water and it's running through the woods, running through some of our creeks and stuff, muddying them up. And that's what the guys are having difficulty is finding clear water to fish.
Back in at the weigh-in, the anglers talked about what they did to overcome some really tough conditions.
Tell me about what you were doing today. What were you throwing and where were you at?
We went way south. First day of practice, we stayed up here. We didn't get a bite. We went down south. We found some clear water, and yesterday, and I think we caught 7 or 8 keepers. They were real small. And today we only have one spot in there that produced, and we caught every one of those fish off one spot.
Y'all take real good care of those because they need to get back to their mother as soon as possible.
They were infantile bass, huh? Now, how did you catch them today?
It was tough for us, obviously. We threw a square bill this afternoon. About 11 o'clock, we caught our first fish.
Bouncing it off of stuff or what?
Yeah, bouncing off some trees.
It was a tough day, but 3 teams did manage to bring in weights of over 14 pounds, including third-place team John Wiggins and Barry McLean.
Tell me about today, how it went for you.
It went real good. We went about 75 miles up the river and made 2 stops.
So 2 of our front runners said they went north. Everybody else been struggling went south. I think you made the right call, don't you?
We eliminated everything off from here to Dolphin Island this week, so we felt like we needed to go north.
It paid off. I'm sure you burned some gas, huh?
Burned some gas, but it was worth it.
We fished 6 days this week, so
Is today the best day as far as catching? Did you see many of those other ones?
No, it was the best day we had.
Hey.
Most we caught all week was 3 fish.
It's not about practice, it's about the tournament, right?
Eliminated a lot of stuff.
What were you looking for, a presentation, anything like that you can help us out with?
Just trying to fish creek mouths. We were just looking for ditches, things like that. Just bottom stuff, soft plastics and things like that.
Our own Vance McCullough has coverage of the 2014 Bassmaster Classic on Lake Guntersville right after this.
You're watching the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show, presented by Progressive Insurance, a leader in boat insurance. Sponsored by Snagproof, supplying anglers since 1961. By Ranger Boats, by Evan Root, by Buckeye Lures, by Stratus Boats, and by Sportsman's Warehouse.
Vance McCullough was on Lake Guntersville for the 2014 Bassmaster Classic, and it looks like Randy Howell is off to one heck of a start.
Here we see Randy Howell. Randy had a huge morning today. He had 25 pounds right off the bat to start the day. He's fishing back here in Spring Creek along a bridge. Tons of people, not only on the water, but parked along the side of the bridge for half a mile up and down the road watching Randy work this morning. Final morning of the 2014 Bassmaster Classic. Randall Tharp is trying to become the first angler ever to hold the Forest Wood Cup and the Bassmaster Classic trophy at the same time. Meanwhile, in Spring Creek, Randy Howell aims to rewrite a page of the record book by storming back from 11th place on the final morning. Back at the weigh-in, the Classic is always a huge show. Randy Howell sits on the hot seat as each competitor brings in his kit. Talk about nail-biting. The weights were strong and the fans were on the edges of their seats as it came down to the last angler to weigh in, Edwin Evers.
47 pounds, 6 ounces when he left the dock this morning. Edwin Evers looking for 20 pounds, 3 ounces. 18 pounds, 5 ounces.
The crowd goes wild as Randy Howell makes history, hoists the trophy, and goes for an indoor boat ride with his family. From the Bassmaster Classic, Vance McCullough for the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show.
Great work, everyone. What a tremendous week of tournaments. Don't forget, you can track all these tournaments on the tournaments page at anglerschannel.com. I'm John Byrne. We'll see you next week on the Progressive Bass Wrap-Up Show.